Hi, I'm Allison, and you're listening to 95.3 GHQ. I'm here with Ryan Newell. How are you doing, Ryan?
I'm great. My name is Ryan Newell. I play guitar in the band Sister Hazel, and we hail from Gainesville, Florida.
All right, guys. So you guys are coming to play a show in Alachua this Friday. Being from Gainesville, how does it feel to come home and play music?
Oh, it's amazing. Ken, our lead singer, and Andrew, our other singer, guitar player, they were born and raised in Gainesville. And the rest of us, we all lived and met in Gainesville, Florida. We all went to University of Florida except for our drummer, Mark. He was in Tampa at the time when we met him. So we have strong ties with Gainesville. And, every time we come back there, obviously it's home for Ken and Andrew, and it feels like home for the rest of us as well.
How would you say that being from Gainesville has influenced your music?
Oh, a lot. Well, first of all, a lot of great music came from Gainesville, Florida. Tom Petty, some of the guys from the Eagles live there. We've always, the guys that grew up there always had, someone that had made it really big from a small Gainesville town. And it definitely inspired the dream. As far as the music scene back in the 90s when we came up, it was amazing. It wasn't just one genre of music. It was all kinds of music, and everybody supported each other. And the best part about it is all the venues in Florida supported original music. You didn't have to be a cover band. So this allowed people to write their own songs and play their own music. And they actually had an outlet to, have people become fans of the band. And it was really supportive. It definitely molded who we were. That's where we came up, and that's where we practiced. That's where we got inspired from different bands in town. And then that's where we got our first, small audience that kept growing and growing for us.
Are there any specific music venues in Gainesville that you remember playing at during your early days?
Absolutely. Rickenbacker's was like our home. We played there all the time. Our manager at the time was actually my roommate, Andy Levine, and he booked Rickenbacker's. So we had a shoe in on getting gigs there, and we really grew our audience there. And of course, the Florida Theater. We graduated to the Florida Theater after playing Rickenbacker's for a while. And that was a dream venue. It felt big time. It was like one of the first venues where we felt like, accomplished. If you could fill the Florida Theater, you were doing pretty good. I think it held close to 1,500 people. So if you got to that point, it really felt like a rock show. And it was, with all the lights and the big stage and all that, was a lot of fun for us.
That's awesome. I know your band name kind of has some ties to Gainesville. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Sure. Sister Hazel was a minister out of Gainesville, Florida, and she also ran a homeless shelter. And she basically, put people in a better place. And that's kind of what we try to do with our music. And when Ken was looking for a name, he grew up seeing her commercials and stuff on TV, and he would ask his mom, that she helps people for no reason. And she, explained it to him, and that really struck a chord with him. And when it came time to name the band, it just seemed like, well, first of all, it sounded like a cool name. And second of all, what she represented was kind of, what we try to do with our music. And we got to meet her. We went to one of her church services, and she was out of town when her name ended up appearing on billboards for at, let's say, like at Florida Theater and stuff for us to play. And she wondered who this band was that was going around with her name, and she wanted to make sure that we were worthy of it. And we got the approval, and we've donated to her church. all the way up until she passed away.
Wow, that's such a beautiful story. So I know that you guys are headlining a tour of drive-in concerts due to the COVID pandemic. How would you say that COVID has affected your experience as a performer?
Well, it stopped us dead in our tracks.
Mm-hmm.
We had a whole year planned of touring, and then you just can't do it. And as much as, even I think everyone's getting caution fatigue and
Mm-hmm.
wanting to let our guard down and go out there and play shows, but we just can't do that to our fans. We can't put them all in the same room. If one person were to get sick from all that, we'd feel horrible. So
Yeah.
we just gotta wait it out. Um, but no, it's been difficult. We even lost some crew. Some of the guys had to get other jobs, and now they're committed to those jobs and can't come back with us when we're ready to go back on. So it's been pretty devastating, but we're trying to start things back up. We did a virtual concert a couple of weeks ago, and that went really well. And that was the first time we had all seen each other, I believe, in 6 months, and that's the longest
Wow.
we've ever gone um, since we've met. So it was really weird. But getting back together, I know it sounds cliche, but it really was like riding a bike. You have no idea uh, where this stuff is stored, but you put on a guitar or you get behind the drum set or whatever, and you start playing it. It's almost like muscle memory. The songs just come back. And we were all surprised that uh, we didn't have to relearn the songs. They were just there, after not playing them for so long. But yeah, as far as the drive-in shows, we did the first couple of ones in Texas with the band Everclear.
Mm-hmm.
And it was fun. It's not the same as people being elbow to elbow, thousands of people, all getting rowdy and all. It's definitely a different thing. But, you know, I actually think there's some of the audience likes it better because, they've grown with us and they're at the age now where standing in those crowded rooms and getting beer spilt on them, and it's just not their thing anymore. And
Yeah.
this is pretty cool. You pull your car in, you can get out of your car, you can sit in lounge chairs or stand, or and you get the concert experience. But it's definitely a different vibe. But we've really been enjoying it for the most part, to get out there and play again.
Yeah, I know as an audience member, like I've been to some drive-in shows and like I'm just so grateful to be there seeing live music. And even if it's like not the same venue that I'm used to, like it's just like such a gift to be able to watch someone perform. So I think we're all enjoying it a lot and really thankful that y'all are doing these
Yeah.
shows.
I mean, people are starved for music. The musicians, the audience, all the
Hmm.
above. This has been the weirdest time uh, for in world history for the type of music that we play.
Hmm.
Uh, with large audiences and big PAs and stuff. But we've never had to go through something like this.
Yeah, obviously, the COVID pandemic is hard. Like it's a really big thing to deal with. But how would you say that music as an artist or even as someone who's appreciating music can help us kind of deal with this time?
Um, well, I think it has inspired a lot of songwriting, showing how precious life is, and how the world as you know it can change on a dime. Um, I think I know a lot of my friends and even some of the guys in the band has written songs about that, um, and to put things in perspective on how much music meant to us. It's like you don't know what you have until it's gone, and people have just been starved. A lot of people use music as therapy, and they've been without a therapist now for 7 months. Um, but I do believe that it's once we get uh, a vaccine and people feel safe again, it's gonna come back tenfold. I think people that maybe didn't go to shows or maybe stopped going since college or something like that, they're dying to get back out there and to see shows. So I think the shows are going to be bigger than they ever have been once everyone feels safe to be around each other.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously with COVID and like these new formats like live streaming and drive-in shows, how would you say that that's impacted your ability to connect with fans?
Well, we've always been very active online, but now it's kind of turbocharged where I think people are realizing that I mean, old school, the main way to keep in touch with fans is to go out and tour.
Hmm.
New school is you realize you actually reach more people online, and you know we as well as most other artists out there are putting a lot more focus on being active online and being able to be in people's living room and playing shows. You know, we had never done a virtual live show before,
Hmm.
and it went so well that we're definitely planning on doing more. Um, and we've also toyed around with the idea of even streaming some of our shows once we get back into venues with audiences and stuff. So it's you know, I think it's changed for everyone's profession. A lot of people had to stay home, and these businesses and corporations, these people can continue to stay home and work from home, and a lot of their job didn't require them to go to an expensive office space, and it can all be done at home. So I think the future, everyone's going to be a lot more remote.
Yeah. This being a super weird time for you guys as musicians, how can fans help support artists during the COVID pandemic?
Well, just go online. There's a ton of people just playing for tips. They get on there, they're playing, but a lot of them have a tip jar up there, and musicians are struggling. I know everyone's struggling, but musicians are the last in line to get their lives back together.
Hmm.
Um, you know, I would say musicians and cruises, and we
Yeah.
do both. We have our cruise, the Rock Boat. We had to postpone it. Um, uh, Probably about we postponed it about 7 months.
Hmm.
Uh, but so I would just say go on there and support the musicians as the best you can. Put every little bit helps, and it's not just the musicians you're helping out. It's everyone surrounding them. Um, it's the people that tune the guitars, that mix the sound, uh, set up the shows and break down. Everyone that's involved in the music industry is just sitting at home with zero income.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, thank you for sharing that perspective. I've been involved a little bit in helping out some of the local music venues here in Gainesville who are struggling with these circumstances. Um,
yeah,
and they've
let's
talked a
not
lot to me
forget
about
the
like the
venues.
Save
Yeah,
Our Stages bill to get financial support for music venues who are going through this really difficult time. So I don't know, I think it's a really important conversation to have.
yeah. I mean, if music's special to you, just get out there and be active.
Hmm.
Um, Everyone from the musician to the people that support the musicians to the venues, they're all struggling, and a lot of these venues aren't going to come back either. They've been hit so hard, um, that if you want those venues to stay around, inquire on how you can help them out and help them
Hmm.
out.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know that you guys have been involved in a lot of charity projects in the past. Can you tell me a little bit more about that and anything that might be going on right now?
Uh, yeah, Ken, our lead singer, actually started a charity called Lyrics for Life, and that's our main charity. And basically, the concept was we were going to get all these people that we had met in the music industry to sign something and write lyrics to one of their favorite songs on anything. It could be a paper plate, it could be a surfboard, it could be, our friend Edwin McCain was a pilot, so he wrote a song on a propeller, and just
Mm.
anything interesting. And we frame it up, and we throw a concert, and we have an auction, and people come in and support the charity that way, and all the donations go to fight children's cancer. Um, and we've also been involved with Feed the Children. We've been to Honduras uh, 3 times to help, you know, uh, poor communities there. We're involved in putting computers and running water in a poor city in Honduras. But yeah, we've always been active with charity. Uh, I think a lot of musicians feel like if you're blessed doing something that you love so much, uh, one of the best things you can do is just to give back to people that aren't as fortunate.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you guys released your most recent album, Elements, last November. How would you say that your musical style has evolved throughout your career and ended up at the point that we're at today?
Uh, well, I think from us playing live so much, we've played at least 100 shows a year our whole career, which is over 25 years. Uh, I think you have to get better at playing with each other, or you might as well break up. But but I feel like we've gotten better as musicians. We've gotten better on how to anticipate uh, what we do each other in the band. Um, I think our songwriting has gotten better, but we've never denied our roots, and we've never tried to be something that we're not. I know a lot of people had questions because our latest releases are released under the country moniker.
Mhm.
And they're like, did you guys go country? And I was like, well, listen to the record. It sounds like Sister Hazel, even though we've grown musically, and our songwriting has grown. Um, the genre has changed where you listen to country music now, and that's pretty much the only genre that's based in songwriting, telling a story, and maybe a guitar solo here and there, and we just kind of fit into that. But we didn't consciously try to change our style or anything. We're constantly trying to grow and do stuff that we haven't done before, but it's never like, oh, well, country's big now, let's try to be country. Um, and I will say that if our music sounds a little more in that genre, um, we we've been writing with a lot of people based out of Nashville, because that's where the best writers in the world live. So Andrew had a publishing deal there for years, and he would go to Nashville and write. All of us in the band would go to Nashville and co-write with some of the writers there, um, as well as writing on our own and with each other. And that way you can kind of hear Nashville sneaking in there a little bit. But we're still the same band, and I think for better, for worse, even if we tried to be something different, we would get on our instruments and it would come out sounding like Sister Hazel.
So you mentioned being like the relationship with Nashville influencing the sound of your music. Are there any specific artists who you would say have influenced your sound?
I wouldn't go as far as artists. It's more of the songwriters in the
Mm-hmm.
town. There's so many incredible songwriters. I could go down the list, but I'd leave people out, and I don't want to do that. But we've probably written with 15 to 20 different songwriters in Nashville. Um, and of course, we're inspired by a lot of the music that's coming out of there, but I don't think we set out to sound like any of those people. We kind of let the songs dictate what the sounds should be.
Okay. In general, would you say that there are any bands who have like really inspired you guys throughout your career?
Well, as far as what we grew up with, of
Mm-hmm.
course, yeah. I would say, we all have our different musical tastes, and what we bring to the table kind of, there's different influences, but I would say that probably the two main pillars of our influence, something that the band can all agree on, is Tom Petty and the Eagles. Uh, Something with the songwriting and the Americana feel and the harmonies, and the guitar work. It kind of fits us. Um, but yeah, we listen to everything from the singer songwriter thing to the rock and the hard rock stuff. Like the Van Halen stuff like that, and uh, from James Taylor to Van Halen, we listened to it all.
Awesome. I love that. Okay, so you mentioned that you guys have been together for 25 years. What would you say has kept you guys going for that long?
Uh, a lot of things, but the biggest one is picking our battles. You know, when we were a lot younger, we used to fight over everything, literally everything. Where are we going to eat? There'd be a fight, um, and we realized that that was stupid and wasted energy. And we had this theory that if this isn't going to bother you in 6 months, then just drop it. Let's just not even get in an argument over it. Um, and I think people should use that in their marriages as well. It really works.
Okay.
So I'd say that's probably the biggest reason. And another one is we all share the same sense of humor. So when things start getting dark, or you know, if the oxygen gets sucked out of the room and there's a bad vibe, someone always cracks a joke. We always end up laughing, and you know, that's the best therapy out there. And we've kind of laughed our way through our career. It's kind of silly, but it works.
I feel like the world needs a lot of that right now. So you mentioned that a lot of you guys went to UF. Can you talk a little bit about how maybe your experiences at UF have influenced your career, or just talk a little bit about UF in general?
Sure. Yeah. Right out of high school, I went to Berklee College of Music and studied music there. And then I ended up, I won't get into too many details, but I transferred to University of North Texas and went to their jazz program there. And for whatever reason that I won't get into, ended up transferring again to University of Florida. So by the time I got to Florida, I was a junior in college, and got submersed into the music scene, just going and watching bands. And it was killing me just seeing bands on stage, and I, you know, wanted to play so bad. So I started looking for musicians to play with, and ended up in a band called Water Dog, who had just kicked out their lead singer, and that lead singer is currently our bass player, Jet Barris, and Sister Hazel. So that was kind of my first, you know, hearing of someone in Sister Hazel. And then Ken and Andrew had a duo, and they used to play out, and I saw them. And you know, one thing led to another, and Ken wanted to start a band outside the duo. And the first person to respond was Jet, our bass player. And then Ken and I had always talked about wanting to be in a band together. I was in another band called Black Creek, and uh, I ended up leaving that band and joining up with the other guys. And that's when Sister Hazel decided to, you know, whoever was in school, Jet was in school, he was in graduate school. We all decided to quit our jobs, quit school, get in a van and trailer, and do something crazy with our lives, and just travel around, play music, and just see what would happen. We all have a college degree, but Jet is still on sabbatical for his master's.
That's awesome. All right. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this interview. I really, really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for having me. This has been great.